Hey guys, how's it going? How we doing on YouTube? Michael Oldroyd here, Michael Oldroyd, and the reason I'm doing this is because I like to do podcasts. I'm doing my podcast right now. This is episode 180. I'm about to start it up. Um, Hopefully, this is in 4K. Does it look like 4K to you guys? I certainly hope so. I really hope so. I don't know. Is it? Who knows? All right. I guess it is whatever it is, right? All right. Whew, take a nice deep breath. Let's gather ourselves. This is the behind the scenes before the actual start of the podcast. So give ourselves a couple of these guys. Maybe take a sip from our sponsors today, Google. And when I say that, I'm lying. I'm the sponsor. Google is not the sponsor. Not even sure where I got this. My ex-girlfriend. This is one of her trinkets, and somehow it's what happens after relationships. You accumulate your significant other's things. So brought to you guys by Mike's ex-girlfriend's water bottle. All right, it's empty now. Hydrated. Got to stay hydrated. Am I right? All right, because of my ADD, I have to check my new notification on Facebook, and it's nothing. It's just a bunch of nothing notifications, wasting my time constantly. I need to turn my notifications off. Anyway, maybe I should tweet really quick and let people know that I'm recording this on. All right. I'm letting people on Twitter know, so bear with me while I do this. All right, cool. Cool, wonderful, good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus. Good. Should I do a quick Facebook notification on my fan page on Facebook? Yeah, I think I should. I think that I should. Gosh dang it. Bear with me, YouTube. You lovely mother foes. You sexy sons of bees. Wax. All right. All right. Anything else? Instagram story. Yeah, let's do a quick Instagram story, and then we will. We're almost doing this, guys. Thanks for your patience. All right, let's do this. Let's put this on Instagram story because I love you guys. That's why I'm putting it on my stories, because I love you. You know what I mean? That's why I'm putting it on my story. All right, we're almost there. Is there anywhere else that I'd like to put this right now? Potentially. How about on my Snapchat, and let's also put it on my WhatsApp story where I send inappropriate pictures from time to time. because the conversations are encrypted. Isn't that fun? Encrypted. Full encryption. All right. Everything consensual, though, always. No need to even preface it, it's a given. But we live in a weird time where I feel like people preface things, and may as well buy yourself some insurance with a preface, with a little pref action, a little preface, talking to myself, talking passively to my viewers. Sound is off on all platforms. Microphones are turning on. We're about to rev up the engines. How does this look? Are we good here? Is that how we want to do it, guys? Is that how we want to do it? I don't know, but I'm going to try something. Bear with me. I'm going to try a little something. Let's see if this works. Does this work? How does this look? Does that look sexy? All right, I think it does look pretty sexy, to be honest. I think it looks sexy because okay. So okay, that works. All right. We're live on YouTube until the camera dies. So that's fun. We're live on YouTube until the camera dies, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put this baby on and fire up the engines. Let's do this, Team USA. All right. I think we're ready to go. How now, brown cow? Warming up the mandibles, warming things up. Got to get nice and warm. Sorry, got to send a quick message on Snapchat. I apologize. All right, let's go ahead and let's start this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Let's start it up. I like how I look. 4K, awesome. Ready to get her going. Yep, ready to get her going. It's episode 180, Sunday, January 26th. Sorry, it's February. All right, let's do this. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hey guys, testing. Okay, wonderful. 180. Hey guys, just got a message on Bumble as I'm starting this. Way to distract me right off the bat. That's how it goes. You get notifications when you're trying to focus. That's where we are. Anyway, I'm not going to let it derail me. It's episode 180. Episode 180 of the Miguel Old R2D2 comedy podcast, aka the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast, which is an eponymous podcast, if you will. An eponymous means that my name is in the podcast itself. How narcissistic, am I right? Okay, narcissist. Did I just say that with an S and pluralize it by accident? What's my deal? What the heaven? What the golly, what the deuce. All right, let's go ahead and catch you guys up to speed. It's Sunday. I was going to say December. It's Sunday, February 26th, 2023. Got those. I feel good about that. I got all that right. Did that by memory. Didn't even have to look at anything. And it is, like I said, it's Sunday night, actually, 10:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Tampa Bay, Florida, South Tampa specifically, south of the Gandhi, aka SOG. For those of you who didn't know that, SOG, S-O-G, means south of Gandhi, which is a bridge that goes through halfway down the Tampa Peninsula. So if you want to see where I am on a map, I'm not too far from an Air Force base here. Not that you give two shits, but let's go ahead and get right into it because I don't think you give a pho. And when I say that, I mean a P-H-O. I love pho. It's a Vietnamese dish. Some of you guys may or may not be into it. I don't know. Either way, we are broadcasting this live on YouTube, and I highly recommend tuning into the stream. It looks like the camera has already, it's still working. That's great. I was going to say it already died, but it's still working, which is flabbergasting, quite frankly. And we're going to get started because I don't want to waste anyone's time, including my own, because I am going to try to wake up early tomorrow and drive to Jupiter, Florida to see the Cardinals play, St. Louis Cardinals, invited by a friend from Eureka High School, Leslie Loudon. Shout out to her. Her younger sister, Stephanie, was a cheerleader and a graduate from 05 Eureka High School. And, it's always nice to connect with Eureka. And she invited me out. So anyway, I may go out there if I'm not too tired after this podcast. I live my life in flux, guys. And I try not to plan everything. Everything is just, but I always want to respect people's time, though. So there's an art to making sure that you're being respectful and setting the right expectations, because I do want to be a man of my word. If I commit to something, then I commit. If I say I'm going to try to make it, that means I'm going to try to make it. And it means I also have some wiggle room if I can't. If I say I'll be there, it means I'm going to fucking be there unless the tectonic plates shift beneath my feet and there's a crack in earth and I cannot walk or drive to you. If I can still fly, I will be there. If it's a wedding, if it's a funeral, I'll figure out a way, earth, land, or sea, or air, I guess. Earth, land, sea. Earth is land. What am I talking about? So land, air, or sea. If I commit to being you, I'm going to do everything in my power to be where I say I'm going to be when I say I will be there. Integrity and being a man of hey, all you got is your word. Am I right? Anyway, let's fucking jump into what's going on in the world. All right, guys. So YouTube, how you doing? Just starting the first segment right now. Starting the first segment up as we speak. So let's go ahead. We're going to save that right there. We're going to save that. And I might even check the camera really quick to make sure that there's juice. You know what? I don't know how much of this I'm going to, you know what I mean? Get on camera. I'd love to get it all, but I just don't think that much of it will go. So for those people who are tuning in on YouTube, I'm going to set a quick precedent right now. The camera is going to die around 30 minutes. You'll still hear my voice. And when I realize that the camera has died, at that point in time, I'm going to turn the podcast off, and that will be a sample of the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast that you can see visually. You'll have to go and listen to the rest on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, to get the audio. So this is just it's a teaser, if you will, right? I'm showing you the bra and panties right now, but I'm not taking the panties off for you, meaning I'm not showing you everything because, frankly, it's not because I don't want to. It's because my camera needs a battery source, and it's hard to kind of do it all at once and, blah, blah, blah. So you get it. I love you. Thanks for understanding. Check out the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast, wherever you download audio podcasts. and we will have a rendezvous together, and we will be one because technically we are all one. And I think that's important to always remember that we're all interconnected. We're all part of humanity. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and talk about what's going on in the world. That's our first segment. So here we go. All right, guys. So what's going on in the world? Apparently, right now, or at least an hour ago when I checked, the Asian markets are down on the other side of the world. I don't know if they've gone up since we spoke, but they did say that US futures are higher. So hopefully, I don't know what it meant by higher. I don't know if that meant they're higher than the Asian markets, or it's looking as if the market will open up green tomorrow. We will see. The stock market has been a little shaky the last week or two. My net worth is fasting at the moment because a lot of my stuff is invested in things like 401ks and IRAs and blah, blah, blah. Suck me sideways, as Jim Carrey would say. So do I even have money? It's all potentially an illusion, especially if everything crumbles. I am invested in the American economy, which is really kind of risky, but I love America and I'm doubling down. It's like the GameStop people, right? Hold the door. Anyway, Hordor, right? That's a twofer right there. That's a reference of Game of Thrones and fighting against the wildlings. Hold the door, and it's a GameStop reference from a couple years ago when the GameStop lovers and loyal Reddit fans, loyal GameStop gamers who happen to be doing well on Reddit, band together and fought a bunch of guys on Wall Street that tried to short GameStop. So they basically said, "Fuck you! You're not gonna, tank the value of our company and make money off of it. We're all gonna buy right now." So they knew enough about how that works to fight it, and it worked, and it created a phenomenon, as you guys may or may not remember, which was really exciting. And it shows that sometimes that capitalism pyramid can flip, which is why it's good to invest. It's good to invest in being a good person more than anything. You never know when you'll be picking up Indian passengers in your Uber. I do myself from time to time. You never know when the capitalism pyramid will flip, like in the movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, which is a nice plug for Black History Month, right? Treat people well, treat everyone well, whether they're, treat everyone with respect and love, whether they're in higher status, lower status, more money, less money, equal money, whether you don't know how much money they do or they don't have, whatever status they may or may not have. You just never really freaking know. But what you do know and what you can control is your attitude in life and how you treat people. So anyway, I'm sorry to start off the podcast too preachy, but I just wanted to say that. I mentioned Black History Month. We're almost over with that. 2 more days. And then we will be into Women's History Month, if I'm not mistaken, aka March 2023, 3/23. So isn't that crazy? On 3/2/23, it'll be 32/23, which is an onomatopoeia of numbers. Sorry if this is going over your head. Starting to sound like Robin Williams by going a mile a minute. Very intelligent man. He was awesome voices, characters. You know what I mean? I just had to throw that in there to kind of bring out that inner Robin Williams. I think one of my favorite quotes was, "We only get a little bit of madness, and you mustn't lose it. You mustn't lose the little bit of madness." So I guess that's what I'm doing right now by giving you guys diarrhea of my thoughts and prayers. I'm using that in a different term than it's usually used. I'm giving you guys my thoughts, and I usually end the podcast with a prayer. Will we do it today? To be determined. Either way, let's keep it moving forward. There was a storm in California this last weekend, a lot of snow, especially Northern California, if I'm not mistaken, which makes sense. I was actually supposed to be in Colorado the last 5 days. I ended up canceling my trip. I bought a ticket for a decent price several weeks back because Southwest has been having sales because I assume they've been having a lot of sales because of what happened during the holidays when they're trying to repair that bad mishap with travel delays where people, were not able to be where they were supposed to be for Christ Mass. And I'm capitalizing on that. Some people are boycotting, and I'm like, hey, let's take advantage of these fucking fares, baby. So I did buy a refundable ticket. That's one of the things I like about Southwest. They should be a sponsor of the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. They would be perfect because they go by love, LUV. I'm a creature of love. You guys heard it if you listen to the last episode, and probably every episode before that. You could probably pick it up. One girl recently described me as, I keep on wondering when you're going to be a douche, or I keep on expecting you to do something douchey, or that you're going to be a douche, and it just doesn't happen. And I'm going to be honest, I thought that was a tremendous compliment. So thank you. You know who you are. Don't want to single anyone out or embarrass them. Have no idea if she's actually listening to the podcast, but anything is possible because I'm broadcasting into the universe from the center of my being. Michael Lee Oldroyd. I'm starting to get hot. Might have to take off the robe. The video is probably going to die soon from the YouTube live stream, but it is what it is. We'll make do with it. Let's do some more bullet points, huh? Let's do some more freaking bullet points. Did you guys go to Lake Tahoe and do some snowboarding? Did you guys go to Colorado and snowboard since I had to cancel because I was being cheap? And all my friends are married or unavailable this last weekend. So I decided not to just drop a bunch of money unnecessarily just to go ride a couple runs and jerk off in the log cabin afterwards, or wherever else that I would have stayed. I do have some points saved up from my Chase Sapphire. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the points guy, but he at one point was recommending the Chase Sapphire. So that's what I have. I got a few points on that baby. Might need to unload on a future trip to Colorado. Brought my freaking snowboard back and canceled my gosh dang trip to Colorado. Brought my snowboard back from Missouri and canceled my gosh dang trip to Colorado. So just taking up space unnecessarily in my apartment here, being a buffoon. You know how I do. All right. So anyway, Biden recently grew in height in his most recent physical in relation to his last physical a year ago. So I thought that was intriguing. Learned that one on Jimmy Fallon. Thought that was interesting enough. He made a funny joke about it. A funny JOEK, if you will. And I forget what it was. I apologize, but it had to do with him wanting to know how an 80-year-old man can grow in height. So that was very fun because it's an intriguing thought I'd like to know as well. But what I do know is that when you go into space, you come back taller. And also when you get a lot of rest, you wake up in the morning taller than you are at the end of the day because your spine does contract from the weight of gravity during the day. The little discs in between your vertebrate do get pushed down and squeezed during the day, and then they fill up with water at night and stretch out a little bit. So that is why sometimes I've been measured at different heights myself over the years after I've stopped growing, anywhere between 6 foot and 6'3". Believe it or not, I know that sounds crazy. I try to stretch out my spine a lot. As Dom Leonelli would say, I do cartwheels from time to time. I like to hang from the monkey bars at the gym. And I also have gravity boots like Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, to stretch out the old spine, keep the back nice and strong, nice and taut. And I recently did, I was 6'3" with shoes on. So I can't claim to be 6'3" without shoes on at all. But I did have shoes on. I was tested at 6'3". So that's exciting. And that does drop a few panties. Generally speaking, there are some women that set their parameters on dating apps to 6 foot or taller. My mom heard about the fact that some women do that. She did not like it at all. She thought it was extremely superficial. and extremely difficult for somebody to make a real connection with somebody. So I love my mom's wisdom and her insight. She thinks that the dating apps make everything way too um, on to the next one. Like she thinks they're too kind of like too easy to have so many options that you never just focus on one. So I thought that was my mom's pretty insightful. She's insightful. She listened to one of my melodies recently called Miklos Goes to Miami because I was down there and she loved it, and it made me. Of course, she loves the things that I do, but this one made me even happier than usual because normally I wouldn't tell her about this one because it's a little inappropriate. But to know that I didn't embarrass her and she still found my Adam Sandler dirty humor type stuff funny made me happy. And she was laughing when we saw Adam Sandler too. So it's nice to have the guidance and know that she's an adult and she can appreciate the adult humor. And that just it gives me peace. It gives me peace to my soul to know that my mom's not embarrassed with some of the things that I put out there. I love her to death, and she's truly an angel. Little angel is what Angelita means, and that's her name. And she is definitely that. So anyway, what else do we have, guys? Biden grew, as I told you, in height. Was he recently visiting Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken? I believe that he met with Zelensky recently. I'm not sure. Volodymyr Zelensky versus Vladimir Putin. Hey, I think I'm going to name my son Volodymyr. Huh? All right. Anyway, Volodymyr Zelensky was once a comedian, by the way. And if that doesn't arouse you, I just don't know what to say. I mean, comedians, it's a valiant thing. I think we're gladiators in some way, shape, or form. We're up there. Stand-up comedians, it's us against. I don't like to say against, but we're in the spotlight like Maximus Decimus Meridius, from Gladiator, except instead of using swords, we're using words, which are spelled with the same letters. Isn't that something? A little Scrabble action for you. Words, swords, both equally dangerous, they say, throughout the decades and throughout the centuries and throughout the millennia. So I guess that's why, as my body slowly deteriorates and I'm no longer the specimen of an athlete that I once was, I still have the strength of my words and still have the sharpness of my words. So, all right, let's go ahead and keep it moving because I'm really rambling and I'm having a good time doing it, I will say, but I do want to be cognizant of your time because I love you once again. Anyway, next topic. There's more Israel-Palestine fighting transpiring. That sucks. It's also not a surprise. It's been going on for a long time. Nevertheless, there was recently a meeting, and during the meeting, the goal between Israel and Palestine was to de-escalate violence, especially going into Ramadan and Passover in April. They want to make sure that they kind of go into this time preventing violence. It's a religious time. It's a time to promote peace and love. And they want to de-escalate this. And unfortunately, there was violence that broke out during that outside of the meeting between Israel and Palestine. And it kind of reminded me of that movie, All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or seen it. I think it was nominated I think it got an Academy Award, at least one. And I just finished it this last week, a little late on my behalf. Late to the party, started it a while ago, finished it recently. I'm gonna tell you guys the reason it reminded me of the Israel-Palestine thing is because toward the end of World War II, I guess when Germany decided to surrender, there was a scene in the movie where one of the crazy, I guess, part of the SS or one of the generals for the German army said, even though the treaty, or like it was signed that the war's over at 11 o'clock on the 11th day or whatever it was, this idiot general said, no, we're not going quietly into the night. We're not going without a fight. So they stormed some of the trenches where a lot of fighting had been going on previous to that, when some of the allies didn't realize it was coming, and it was just a waste of lives. The war ended shortly after anyway. And the main character, well, I don't want to give it away, but let me just tell you guys one thing about the movie. One, if you can't tell, as you've gotten to know me through my podcast, or you know me in real life, or both, um, I have become more and more appreciative of, I've become more and more interested and fascinated by World War II, and I've become more and more appreciative by those who sacrificed so much, whether they're with us still or not, or whether their lives were lost during the fight. But those who pushed against evil, and to be clear, I'm talking about U.S. and our allies fighting against Hitler and the Axis there. So I really appreciate world. This, by the way, I just realized, I remember the All Quiet on the Western Front is actually World War One, but World War One and World War Two are somewhat intertwined, and um, that changes a few things. Uh, it does change a few things, so I apologize. But I'm fascinated by all that. I misspoke. Forgive me. Love you guys. Hopefully, we can still be friends, and you're not upset with me. But it was a great flick, and I do recommend it. What I wanted to say about it before I forget is I actually cried. I cried and I made noises during crying. So not only did tears come down my eyes, but I actually made some gasping noises and a few wails. I wailed. Weil, I think is how you spell that whale, not Whale. I didn't make orca noises. I wailed like I don't know. Maybe that's a little too intense. I apologize, but got to keep you awake if you. Anyway, the reason that I wailed and cried and had tears running down my face is because there was a scene where the main character was about to get shot by a guy in a ditch, and he turned around and he shot the other guy first, and he went over there, and the guy was still alive, and he went over there and started stabbing him to death in the neck area and in the upper chest. And there was a lot of fighting going on all around, and you could see the slow realization as he was laying there in that ditch. He could hear the guy gasping, and he finally noticed it enough, stimulus response. He heard it enough, despite all the other fighting that was going on all around him. He started to hear it enough where it started to drive him a little bit mad and a little bit crazy. And he's like, shut up, stop gasping, stop making noise. Not only are you drawing attention to us, but you're fucking with my head. I don't want to listen to you as you're dying, essentially, right? And he after he had just murdered this guy, essentially. I don't know if murder is the right word, if that's what they use in war, but he killed him, and the guy was dying out, bleeding out, suffocating, having a hard time, suffocating on his own blood or whatever. And sorry if that's graphic, but so he went over and he was angry and annoyed by the fact that the guy was making all this noise. So he went over and started shoving like dirt in his mouth, and that didn't work. And then after a couple minutes of him being driven mad by it and starting to come to a realization after all this killing from the war and constant killing, where he had been desensitized to it, which I think you have to. I've never fought, but I would imagine you have to kind of turn your brain off, right? And I guess he had time to think about it for a second, enough to realize that he started to feel guilty in that moment. And then he felt terrible, and he went over to the guy who was still gasping with dirt in his mouth. And he started feeling bad, and he started getting water for him and trying to clean out, the dirt from his mouth, dump water in there. And then he started apologizing, and he started going through his pockets. And he tried to stop the bleeding, which, obviously is too late. He was bleeding out from his neck, but he tried to slow it down and tried to bring him comfort, tried to apologize, he looked through his pockets and saw that there was a picture of a wife and a daughter in his pocket. And the realization that this was a human being that he had just killed, and it was on the way to greet the afterlife, essentially. He had that realization. And during that moment, in those moments, I cried and I wailed and I gasped and I felt horrible. And I And I know it's just a movie, but it's a movie based on versions of reality, and war is truly a terrible thing. And I prayed, for those that actually had to go through many versions of that type of situation on the receiving end or the giving end of it. And just a terrible thing. So we all got to count our blessings and really truly think about how lucky we are. Our dark time was 2020. We did lose a lot of people during that time, loved ones. But for those of us who are still here, we're here. We prevailed our dark time. I pray and hope that that's it. That's our dark time for this. Hopefully, the next several decades, if not more. But either way, it looks like we're prevailing here, and 2023 is looking on the up and up. Hopefully, overall, I think it is. Got to count those. Got to be thankful. So anyway, speaking of war, obviously, current day Ukraine, Russia duking it out right now. Apparently, a Russian plane was shot down, if I am not mistaken. And I even heard most recently, as of today, that China is seeking to bring Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table in order to end the conflict. So I know that Russia and Ukraine are not the only thing going on where there's conflict, military conflict. There's probably a lot that we don't hear about, all around different parts of the world. I shouldn't say all around, but I'm sure that this is not the only conflict that exists, but it is at the forefront of the news. Obviously, we talked about Israel and Palestine, that continues to go on. But it's interesting to see China trying to bring these two together to end the conflict. That's kind of nice to see. I hope they mean it, whether it's a political move or whatever. Either way, I recognize that trying to create peace is that's what it's got to be. So I'm excited to have, to have excited maybe isn't the right word. Let's see if we can get there. Either way, on another note, talking about China and everything else, obviously China and Russia are allies in a lot of ways. I don't know how much they love each other, but they seem to be in bed in some way, shape, or form. I mean, technically the US is in bed with China as well. I mean, we owe them trillions of dollars, if I'm not mistaken. I heard that we need to, this year in 2023, we're going to need to raise the debt ceiling, or we're going to default on a bunch of money that we've borrowed and a bunch of money that we owe, basically loans. So that's something. It'll be interesting to see how we handle that, and how the government handles that. We are at a time where things have become flipped a little more from blue to red. So I have a feeling we're going to be more conservative with what we do there. And it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes down. And some of you guys are like, hey, Mike, what the fuck? Is this a comedy podcast? What the fuck are you doing, man? I'll be honest. I haven't really said much funny, and I apologize, but sometimes this worldly update is just good for you guys to get straight from the horse's mouth. And when I say the horse's mouth, what do I know? But, either way, a lot of people would consider me very smart. I have many leather-bound books. All right. What else? I heard something's going on with Brexit right now. What else? Nigeria election. There was a tight race, tight results. Okay. What else? East Palestine, Ohio. Apparently there was a train wreck, and a lot of toxic stuff going on over there, and they're trying to clean it up. And I think Trump flew out there, if I'm not mistaken. It's in Ohio, to talk about how it's Biden's fault, most likely. Either way, yeah, that's some pizzazz for you. That's a little, that's all I'm going to say about those things. Some of the things I know more about, some of the things I don't, giving you some buzzwords to check out the news on your own. If any of it intrigues you, if you're like, oh, I didn't hear about that. I want to hear about the train wreck in Ohio. By the way, I need to take a trip to Ohio to do an audition for some comedy stuff. So if anybody out there lives in Ohio and wants to see me perform or hang out or meet, maybe one of my friends is listening to this who lives in Ohio, and we haven't caught up lately. And let me know if you live in Ohio, because maybe I'll come crash on your couch as we grab a drink, maybe tea, Doesn't have to be alcoholic, whatever it is, and touch base and potentially touch not the tips of our penis, because you know how I feel about unsanctioned homosexual. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, let's make something happen. All right. Saw Avatar. That's exciting, right? I saw Avatar a few days ago, and it looks like the live stream video just ended. So bear with me for 1 second while I navigate that. I just noticed that my live stream video ended. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm going to be ending this soon. Let me just go ahead and save whatever the F this is on my podcast. Just bear with me for a quick tick. All right. All right. So YouTube, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. This is a sample. It's 40 minutes of a sample of my podcast. I'll probably have another 40 minutes left or so. I do segments. I'm almost done with the first segment, what is going on in the world. And then the next segment, if you tune in anywhere, Blueberry, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, whatever it is where you get your podcast, you'll hear the next segment. It'll be about what's going on in the world, in the comedy world. Sorry, talk about SNL and things like that. I'll talk about what's going on in my comedy world. I'm going to New York here in a couple of days for the weekend. Excited about that. And then I talk about what's going on in my world. And it's a blend of everything. Anything that I didn't cover that I think is relevant and interesting to share. And it can come off slightly narcissistic since it's all about me, but I wait till the end so that people who want to tune out have that opportunity. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe, say what's up, connect with me on social media. I'm on every platform except TikTok. I was talking about China earlier, not giving into the whole TikTok thing. So I'm on everything else. It's TheDroyd everywhere. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. Have a great week. God bless you. Go to heaven. And, if I don't see you, keep on trucking.